Hello world, it's Birdo Prey 5 Qapla, and welcome back to Star Trek Discovery Season 5, Episode 5, Mirror, or Mirrors, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's just Mirror. Last week, we actually had not a half good, but not an awful episode of Star Trek Discovery, mostly because we got to see Michael Burnham fight with the only person in the galaxy she's qualified to fight against, younger Michael Burnham. And no matter who won, of course, we all lost in the end. But it was fun to see her fight herself for a little bit, maybe think that maybe she could remove herself from reality and restore Star Trek back to Star Trek, but no. But anyway, after last week's episode of the season, not saying a lot, we're back, and unfortunately, this week did not continue last week's story. At least, I don't want to say quality, but yeah, we're back where we were the week before. Another episode of Crap Track. The episode begins. Book is given some personal log for some reason, like any of us give a shit about his personal journey when he was a courier and when he was a kid and he knew Moll. We're not really sure how Book's upbringing went. He was a courier. He his his father figure was this criminal guy called Cleveland Booker. He took his name. Now Cleveland Booker, the name of the guy he took, had a legit daughter apparently named Moll, and now Moll is the criminal mastermind behind this Moll and Locke going around the galaxy trying to get ahead of the Breen because Locke is a Breen. Anyway, Book thinks he needs to make good with Moll, and anyway, so we see him feeling really bad about Moll. He has to be there for her. So of course he invited himself on this season's adventure because he should have been in jail. He was supposed to be in jail. That's where he was. He was doing community service when they picked him up for his crimes against humanity last season, where he set off some super spectacular weapon, almost destroying a civilization so advanced that they could destroy the galaxy. Because every year on Star Trek Discovery, every season, we're fighting something that could destroy the galaxy, maybe the universe, every year. And this is no different. This year's the Progenitors technology is even more powerful, I assume, than last season's, which was supposed to be the ultimate power in the galaxy, which even before that, they fought Control, a crazy, destructive AI. And then there was the Sphere, which had 100,000 years of knowledge. And then there was the Red Angel, which all turned out to be Michael Burnham and Michael Burnham's mother. And of course, first season, there was the Klingon War, which was going to destroy every season. Anyway, forget it. Every season is the worst could possibly be. Somehow, last week, after being told that there were literally no shuttlecraft, no way off I'm sorry, no, that's this week. Last week, Moll and Locke's ship, they disappeared. They didn't know where they went, but they figured out where it went this week. It went into what we would recognize as a wormhole. Stamets is giving a report. He says we couldn't see it because we had to recalibrate our sensors. It's a kind of a broken wormhole. Something happened to it during the burn, and they see that this wormhole opens and closes, and there's something on the other side, but it doesn't open big enough for Discovery to get through, so they're going to need a shuttle. And of course, there's problems with communications, and Michael's going to go as usual, even though she shouldn't be going. And her first officer would like a word with her. And this time they seem to walk into the ready room instead of beaming in, which they conveniently did last week. Had they beamed in, had they walked in last week, they'd all be dead. They'd all be dead. This week they walked into the ready room. No reason not to. It is right off of the bridge like it should be. So why last week did they have to go to an elevator? What's that? A turbo lift. Why would they have to go to a turbo lift last week to get to the fucking ready room when this week they just walked right in? They're actually making last week's more dumb anyway. So the first officer was like, you know, I'm the one that's supposed to go after them. Your place is on the bridge, which is exactly true. But of course, Michael Burnham decides that she wants to go, and he's like, no, you're going to stay here, and you're going to do things my way. And she's like, I know you can do it. I believe in you. She believes in the person and confirms that he has his orders. And again, she goes to walk out, and I assume she walks all the way to the shuttle pad, and she's on the shuttle, and Book's flying the ship as well. It looks like it. Maybe he's doing something. So Michael asks him, well, what is she going to do with Moll when we come across her? Because Michael said she needs to go down. And Book is like, we're not all that different. He thinks he can reach her. He thinks he can reach Moll. And Michael's like, we're going to have to bring him in. Says it sounds like that temporal bug was a real pain in the ass. But Michael's lips are sealed. She's not going to talk about it. She says there were some surprises. Book is surprised that he won't talk about it. And they're closing in on the wormhole. And now they're talking about how they're going to have to speed in to get. It's a very obvious pattern to the opening and closing of this thing. You should be able to easily tell the computer to get you inside when it's open. This is not hard. This is like going crazy over a mini golf course with a fucking windmill where it's blocking the hole on a very regular and consistent basis. You know when to hit the ball when the windmill is blocking the hole. That way, by the time the ball gets there, the windmill is out of the way. It's not hard. Anyway, it takes them hard to get in, and of course they can't communicate because of they can't communicate because they're getting in the wormhole. Now they're supposedly moving quite fast, or even at warp. But if they were at warp, they would already be long past the wormhole. So now they're in the wormhole, and there's a bunch of debris, and it's Moll and Locke's ship. It's been destroyed, or at least half of it has. So Michael and Book are looking at each other. They're looking at the debris, and now Michael looks forward, and he's like, they made it into that, maybe. And it is the IS. You see a big, and Book knows, oh, that's mirror universe. And he's like, I wonder how it ended up in interdimensional space. And it's the Enterprise, the ISS Enterprise. And Michael Burnham says, must have been one hell of a story. I'm sure it was. So the ISS Enterprise, that is the mirror universe Enterprise. In Star Trek canon, last we saw it was in the original series episode Mirror, and evil Spock, though evil Spock technically wasn't that evil, he was still logical. But Spock with the beard had told our Captain Kirk that our Captain Kirk had tried to get Spock to see the logic, mirror Spock to see the logic, and try and bring the Federation, take Federation values to this evil empire. And Spock said he would consider it, and that was the end. And we never really got much of a follow-up on it until DS9. We heard that the Empire eventually got overthrown in DS9, but then in Discovery, we got a whole lot more mirror universe bullcrap. She had never encountered, Michael Burnham says she had never encountered the Terran version of the Enterprise, but she had been on the obviously the Federation version of the Enterprise. They get a life sign or something on the ship, but they also see that they scan the ship and there's no shuttles, there's no escape pods, everything's been jettisoned. There's no way on or off the ship except through their shuttle pod. Back on Discovery, Tilly comes into sick bay. She wants to talk, or she's talking to Culber, but Culber doesn't seem like want to hold a conversation for the first time in his entire life. Tilly's working on some nonsense communication problem. Stamets calls her. Stamets and Adira are working. And Adira, the human turned Trill, not sure what their pronouns are, person, child, adopted child of Stamets, but also works with Stamets. Anyway, they're working on trying to get all the engineering stuff done. Apparently they're engineers now. I keep going to call him Captain, but First Officer Rayner drops in, wants to talk to them about how could they get Discovery into, if they needed to bring Discovery into the wormhole, how could they open the wormhole bigger? So he just wants them to work on it. And Stamets wants him to know, you're not in this alone. He wants comms back. He says they need comms first. And says they haven't run into Moll and Locke yet. They will. Anyway, of course, we go back to the Enterprise on the bridge. It, of course, looks like the Enterprise from Discovery. The window as the view screen, and the bridge that they have on Discovery, not the bridge that they had on, obviously, the original series. And Michael is looking over to where Book is, and Book is standing at the Science Council, and Michael's like, oh, that was my brother's station on the USS Enterprise. Book was able to hack into the system somehow, and she was like, oh, it worked. And she was surprised that Book's hack worked. And now they have access to the system. And Michael sees that the intermix chamber was ejected from the warp drive, and Book sees that Book confirms shuttles and escape pods are all gone. The crew had abandoned ship, and the captain's logs were deleted. The captain's logs were deleted. The crew abandoned ship. And she says evacuation's a last resort in Terran culture, meaning, yeah, mirror universe. So there's 2 signatures, 2 life signs on the bridge, 3 in sick bay, not life signs, 3 signals in sick bay. That's Moll, Locke, and the clue, according to Michael. They're walking now through the Enterprise, phasers out in front, and they see beds and blankets. It looks like in their transporter room, they've got a whole bunch of beds, and there is a stuffed animal. Michael's like, why would they leave this for us just to find? And Michael picks up a locket. Kinda, I don't know, it looks like Amanda and Spock, like a young Amanda and Spock. Michael picks it up and holds on to it. There's the story of the crew about a Kelpian slave who led a revolt to free everybody. Even in the mirror universe, Saru played a big part, and somehow Saru came to lead the Enterprise, and everybody hundreds of years ago evacuated. And for hundreds of years, the Enterprise has been sitting in this wormhole, stuck between dimensions. And by luck, Moll and Locke were the ones to find it first. And apparently there's a clue on board. So I guess the scientists during the Captain Picard era or before that found the piece and then had found this partial wormhole and hid a clue in this wormhole. Anyway, Moll and Locke are in sick bay. They were waiting, and of course, because remember, sick bay has holographic emitters for some reason. They're able to use the holographic emitters to make a whole bunch of copies of themselves. So Michael and Book shoot out the holographic emitters. So then they get only the two guys left, and Book wants to talk, and even though they've got phasers aimed at each other, and even though Michael's phaser is clearly on stun because it's on green, Moll is talking about, Book is trying to tell Moll that he knew her father, and she's like, yeah, he was garbage. And Locke holds up a piece. He's like, we've got the clue. She's like, Moll is like, listen, we can either shoot at each other and die, or you can give us a ride out of here, and we'll let you replicate a copy of the clue, because they've got the clue. And Michael decides to just lie and say, hey, we've got the real clue. It was hidden somewhere else. And she pulls out this thing she just happened to pick up, this thing. It looked like it was a picture of Amanda and young Spock. Honestly, it could have just been any random picture. It was so hard to tell. But whatever, she's wearing it around her neck now. So she pulls it up, and she's like, I've got the real clue. You can scan it. What the hell would they scan? So she's like, it was hidden somewhere else. She knows where the first one is. So they all look different. And she's like, go ahead, use that tricorder. Calibrate it to scan for quantum signatures. It's the real deal. Now, obviously, they're not going to fall for her bluff, because if they did, they would just shoot her. She's like, the Federation can help you. And Moll's like, can they release an Eriga? And that's when Michael Burnham realizes Locke is Breen. The Eriga, it's a Breen. An Eriga. It's a Breen blood bounty. You're Breen. It all makes sense now. That's why you're here. You can use whatever's at the end of the clue trail to get this released. And Book is like, what did you do? And now we get a Moll story time. We see what she did. And back a few years ago, she was big deal courier. She was in business for herself. She was dropping some stuff off for the Breen. She's a bitch. Locke tells her to be silent. We've had reports that her dilithium has been cut with impurities. She needs to have it inspected. And Locke is like, it's not a request. Puts his hand on her, and that was a no. because this is 2024 and women can do things now. So the big bad brain gets his ass handed to him by the literally tiny woman with blonde hair. She has also heard that somebody down there happens to be the nephew of someone high up that's been demoted recently, and she's like, I know I can help you get payback. And he realizes she is cutting the dilithium with impurities. She's like, listen, if I had a partner on the inside, this would go a lot quicker. And he's like, I should kill you for even suggesting it. You didn't kill me because you're intrigued, aren't you? And she's like, I know what it's like to be an outsider all alone. Makes you hungry. Also, she got out of the handcuffs. It also makes you smart. So now they have to pretend that she's handcuffed as people walk by. And she's like, what do you think? We made a deal? He's like, you don't know anything about me. She's like, not yet anyway. But she's staring at him. And now we're back in the present. And Moll says, whatever we did is none of your damn business. But Michael Burnham says, love is a powerful thing. She knows that they're in love. And Book says, you always have a choice. And she's like, you're right, we do. And she looks at Locke, and Michael Burnham realizes that look in her face is, damn it, they're going to start shooting. And they did. And they all shooting at each other. And somehow they've engaged a system lockout. And Moll and Book are on the wrong sides of the force field as Michael Burnham and Locke. So Michael Burnham and Locke are literally locked in the shuttle, in the medical bay. And Book and Moll are on the other sides of the medical bay. They're both Moll and Book decided to head to the bridge to try and take down the shield. Michael Burnham and Locke are in the med bay with the phasers pointing at each other, each one holding what they think is the clue, or at least each one thinks is the clue. We think is the clue. We don't know which one's the clue. I know damn well the one that Locke holding is the real clue. And Michael Burnham is holding a fake clue. But Locke doesn't know that. So anyway, then the scene goes back to another cut back in time to where Moll and Locke are again back on the Breen ship, and she's dropping off more dilithium, and she's talking. Are you sure you don't want to check my ship again? Make sure I'm not snuggling something. And now Locke is saying he wishes he could spend more time with her, but his uncle's coming down for an inspection. And the dialogue is sickening. I get it. You don't want to do campy, but Jesus Christ, could we not do 2024 like talking with my friends bullshit dialogue? Oh, sounds like a real asshole. You have no idea. That's where Star Trek has fallen. That hurts more than anything. Locke is promising that he'll show her something next week, what his face looks like. She's like, I want to see what your other face looks like. She's like, come on, show me your face. You've seen my face. She's like, the other face. I want to see your other face. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what they're really talking about at this point. Locke is, it's not me. Okay. She's like, okay, but it's part of you. She says, it's part of you, right? Both faces are you. She says, Moll says, you've seen parts of me, meaning, I assume, boobs And for the first time, Locke removes removes his helmet, and we get to see what the Breen face inside the helmet looks like. And it's weird. It's not 100% solid, and it's bluish green, almost liquidy, like possibly transparent. But there are eyes, there appears to be teeth, there's ears. But it's let's put it this way, it is 100% computer generated. That is not a mask. There's no real person behind there. I would be shocked if there was anything real about this face. It looks like something that could only live in computer generated times, which again makes no real sense since, okay, granted, in Deep Space Nine, supposedly, like Worf had said, that supposedly no one has ever lived to Sora Breen, even though earlier in DS9, Kira and Gul Dukat successfully killed a couple of Breen and took their uniforms to rescue Zial. So you would think they would have seen what a Breen looked like, at least a dead Breen. But anyway, regardless, we get to see what a Breen looks like for the first time, and why there's two versions of them. Who knows? Who knows? So Moll is telling Book, as soon as they figure out how to take the fields down, that their truce is over. And Moll is, you think I have daddy issues? He promised to get us off Calar 5. They were going to take us to some safe haven colony in the Gamma Quadrant. Described it in perfect detail. Absolute paradise. Every night she'd go to sleep thinking about how she was going to be free in the Gamma Quadrant. And then one day, her dad just stopped coming home, and her mom had to get a job in the whatever mines, some crazy mines. Her mother became a miner, and then her mother died when she was 14. Anyway, her dad's dead now. He doesn't care anything about him. Book is, I know when your dad left, it was the hardest choice he ever made. She doesn't give a shit. She doesn't want to hear about it. So Michael and Locke are getting a chance to talk to each other. They both sat down. They're still holding the phasers at each other. Michael's trying to explain, if the Breen get a hold of the power, it'll be catastrophic. Do you really trust the Breen to not take it and just kill you anyway? It's like the Federation's all about second chances. Book and I are living proof. And so Locke is saying, if we did come in and served our time, that's a big if. He's like, could we serve it together? And Michael says, Michael says, I can advocate for that. Locke is very clear. I'd rather die than be separated from her. Michael says, I get that. She doesn't say she can do it. She doesn't make any promises. So Moll and Book are on the bridge. She's telling Book to try and help. And he's trying. He tries to talk to Moll. He says that him and Michael are in love. Moll's like, yeah, I see it. Now he's talking about his fucking cat. His cat bites him if he doesn't feed her. It's a bit one-sided. He says Book can see it in Locke's eyes that his father, you're her father. He's like, for what it's worth, her father did love her. Moll it's not working. She needs to get back to Locke. Like all of a sudden, I guess Moll really is in like super love with Locke. For an independent woman, a woman who was so independent for so long, she really is into Locke. Okay, so now we had they go back, a scene adjustment. We go back in time, and we've got Moll. Moll is again on the Breen ship where Locke is stationed. and she's telling Locke that next week or whatever she starts a new job, and she's going to be in Emerald Chain territory. So Locke is like, okay. So she's like, I'm leaving, and Locke's like, for how long? She's like, I don't know. It's probably forever. He's like, why are you going there? The Osira is a butcher. She's like, oh, this space isn't much better with all the faction wars. She's like, it's the Latinum. The Latinum's a lot better. He's like, we can change our deal. I can pay you more. She's like, no, it's not that. He's like, why do you need so much Latinum? She's like, there's a colony in the Gamma Quadrant. No more courier runs. Nobody watching. It'd be all peace and freedom. So I guess she needs more Latinum to get to this colony. It doesn't really make sense. He's like, Locke doesn't really understand it either. She's like, why do you stay? You say you hate it. And he's like, where would I go? She's basically saying, you be with me. She says it. She said, come with me. Just you and me. And that makes him smile. And he goes to kiss her. And he's got his Breen face, but the same face. And oh no, his uncle is here. His uncle sees them. He's without his mask. And oh, they were in a cloaking field. Now the uncle sees, he's staring right into Moll's eyes. Oh, it's all over for Locke. And Moll, oh, we go back to the present. And Moll is going to do a surge through the bridge, and she presses something, and everything on the bridge explodes. Everything on the bridge of the Enterprise explodes, and the fields go down, and Moll and Locke and Michael start fighting. Locke wants to just walk away. Michael won't let him. And so they start a fight. And unfortunately for Locke, we know even Moll was able to beat his ass. So Michael Burnham is going to destroy him. So on the bridge of the Enterprise, where they've got 8 minutes until the Enterprise impacts with the outside of the wormhole, and for somehow the shuttlecraft that they had docked onto the Enterprise dropped left. Michael Burnham and Book's shuttlecraft somehow fell off the Enterprise and got sucked out, so it's destroyed. As we were told, there are no shuttlecrafts left on the Enterprise. Now, Moll takes the gun to Book and says she won't let anything happen. She's going to get Locke, and they're going to get off the ship somehow. Just stay away from them. Well, Book says he's not going to let anything happen to Michael or you, meaning Moll. So Moll's like, why? Why me? Why do you care? And Book's like, because I'm Quajon. His entire planet was gone. Everything about him was destroyed. He might have been a bad dad to you, but he was a great mentor to me. He owes her. Like it or not, that makes you the only family. Oh, that makes her the only family he has left. So he's throwing the phaser away. Actually, he's handing the phaser to her. He didn't have the phaser. She said, I could kill you right now. And he says, well, that's a choice. I hope you'll make a different choice. And of course she will. Okay, let's go. You can come with me. Back in sick bay, poor Locke is getting his ass beat. And he's just like, get out of my way. He just wants her to fucking move. And Michael Burnham is like, please just stop. You're embarrassing yourself. He picks up a knife or some type of fucking dagger. He's like, you let me go or I'll cut you. You can't cut her. God damn it. Do you not know the name of the show you're on? She's like, I can't let you leave. And he comes at her with the knife, and she throws him over, and she picks up the fake piece, and she realizes that, I guess he realizes now that she made a decoy. Said, solid bluff. I didn't think you had it in you, Starfleet. And you find out that the knife that he was going to use to cut Michael, he fell on it. So he's stabbing himself. He stabbed himself with his own knife, full of blood, which there isn't supposed to be. And we got 5 minutes to impact. The shuttle's gone. The Enterprise is their only way out. Michael Burnham's like, we got to find a way, come on. So she takes Book, presumably back to the bridge, and Moll and Locke are together. She's like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And we go back in time again, and we see back on the Breen ship, the uncle's goons are beating up on Moll, and Moll tells Locke that he's part of the family, that he has the genetic code of the heritage of the ruling class. And the uncle takes off his mask, and he says, this is Breen. And like there's some things like Breen should look like the water creature that's in the refrigeration suit, not the look that, oh my God, that Locke has had all season. The green creature is like an older type Breen that have no respect or something. They're supposed to look like they do in the suits. To prove his loyalty, of course, the uncle gives Locke a phaser, and he has to kill Moll. But of course, Locke can't kill Moll. He's in love with her. So he shoots the two guards, and then the uncle comes up. The uncle says, Iragai, I know. And Locke shoots him in the shoulder instead of the heart. Moll's like, why didn't you kill him? And she's like, go. He's like, go to chain territory. She's like, I asked you to come with me. He says he can't, not now. And Iragai is impossible to lift. They'll never stop hunting him. So he wants Moll to leave. She's like, us. They'll be hunting us. And she's like, nothing's impossible. She's like, we can do this. You and me. Come on, babe. Let's be happy together. Like the song is going to play. She's like, please. And he's like, okay, I'll go with you. I love you, Moll. And now they go back to the present. He's like, I love you more than anything. She's like, no, don't die. We've made it through worse. He's like, we're trapped. He's like, oh, nothing's impossible for us. We've got really stupid writers. I promise. Michael Burnham gets to the bridge, having no idea what happened, says there should be enough power to activate a tractor beam. Now it's 4 minutes to impact. A lot's happened in the last minute. Back on Discovery, something's happening, and they're seeing it's a tractor beam. The tractor beam, he's from the shuttle. No, it's from something much larger. It's a repeating pattern, 3, 4, 1, 4. And Rayner calls in Stamets and Adira, who comes in right away. Tilly beams right in. Change of plans. You got to make the aperture bigger, big enough for a starship. And she's like big for Discovery to go in. He's like, no, big enough for a starship to come out. And like everybody looks confused. He's like, how could you possibly know that? He's like, it doesn't matter. It's the code. The code, it's a book that Michael Burnham read about his species. So he knows what she's doing. He says, listen, we need to figure it out. He offers a bunch of liquor of some type to whoever figures this out. And of course, everybody on the bridge gives their best advice on how to do it. And They all, of course, come up with a little bit of the puzzle. If Adira hits it precisely, it could stay open for 60 seconds. But once it collapses, it's gone for good. Why has it got to be hexagonal? Because that's the software that they have. That's the special effects software they already have loaded. Stamford says it doesn't matter. Don't have time to explain. It'll work. And now they go to red alert. Like all this other stuff hadn't been red alert material. 1 minute to impact and no reason. Anyway, so Michael, with less than a minute, presumably, left to live, tells Book that he was one of the surprises in the time jump, and it was good to see him. It was good to see him. Okay, and now the Discovery is firing torpedoes, and the hexagon pattern has opened the aperture to the Enterprise, and the tractor beam has made contact, and it's pulling them through. Let's just fly. She'll use let's fly as the word, and the Discovery sees and starts like, is that the ISS Enterprise? How would they even think to Enterprise? They can barely see it. They would just say, is that the Enterprise? But the ISS, I guess they can read it. It's stupid. And we get the scenes that we saw at the end of the first episode, the Enterprise coming through this wormhole. And of course, the wormhole collapses behind it, and then Siemens explodes. So the wormhole's gone, and we get this picture of the Enterprise in front of Discovery, and we have Michael Burnham communicates to Discovery, says, thank you for the assist. Then says, ISS is preparing to fire. She said, can we see it? System shows it's a Terran warp pod. It's launching, and it went to warp speed. How? We were told 15 there were no shuttle pods or escape pods left. What the fuck is a Terran warp pod? More than once, they said there was no way off the Enterprise. And also, this time, nobody's in a rush. Nobody's in a rush to go after them. They didn't send another shuttle. They didn't send anything. They're just sure, they're like, don't worry. Moll and Locke got away, and nobody's in a rush to chase them. Michael and Rayner are just walking around the hallway like a good old time. Nobody's in any rush to go after them. She's like, how'd it feel being back in the chair? And he's like, captain's chair is for the captain. Michael is saying she's going to give Owo, I think she said Owo and Detmer, command of the Enterprise to fly it back to Federation headquarters. And I guess that'll be a reason why they won't be around for next week. I don't know. We're back at a bar. I'm assuming it's Red's bar on the Discovery. And Tilly, Dr. Culber came over to talk again. He's finally ready to talk. These experiences he had. Oh, finally, he remembers he died. He died and came back to life. He's a mushroom man. And then the Janal experience, it's all confusing for him. Now we're on a quest to find the thing that created us. It's so big. It's impossible to grasp. But here you are. Like, part of me loves it. As terrifying as it is. Like with Paul, he's always been able to find answers together. He doesn't know how to talk to Paul about this. So he's like, change is hard. Just hard. You know what's being hard? Becoming a mushroom man. Billy says they're not really that far apart. The intellectual and the spiritual, both are reaching for understanding, brings us to new places. And Culber's like, I didn't say spiritual. She said, yeah, you did. And that's, yeah, the Ferengi bartender is there. So that's, Reds has to be a bar on the Discovery. Michael's in her quarters, looking at the Progenitors picture again. Book came in, asking if anybody's found Moll and Locke. And nope, Every ship is on full alert though, but apparently there was a vial of liquid in this last clue. So they're going to check on what's going on with this liquid, and Michael and Book talking about what were the lessons, each clue has had a lesson that you had to learn. The Itronach, do you value life forms differently than your own? And then the Qapla planets, you had to learn the importance of cultural context. And so the scientists who left it on the Enterprise, they must have known the history of that ship. Of course, that makes sense. They knew the history of a ship stuck in a wormhole for hundreds of centuries. And that's why they decided to hide a clue there. That makes no fucking sense. Oh, she figured it out. She did. Michael found. She was a Terran, the ship's junior science officer, Dr. Cho. She had Zora look up the crew names. Most of them ended up in Federation databases. So they made it. They started new lives in our universe. Holy shit. An entire fucking starship from the mirror universe came over to this universe and started new lives. And nobody in TNG and DS9 and Voyager knew anything about it? How does that happen? Dr. Cho even ended up joining Starfleet. What the fuck? How do you sneak that in? Entire fucking ship. The Enterprise, no less. The Enterprise, no less. Came into... No! And then they just disappeared again. Then the ship disappeared. And none of this makes any fucking sense. That's why Dr. Cho went back and left a clue on that ship. Oh my God. And we get to see the Enterprise fly off. Now, it's apparently there's no warp engines. It'll probably take 50,000 years for the Enterprise to make it to Federation headquarters. So I'm assuming Owo and Detmer will die on their way back to Federation headquarters. And Stamets calls in and says they're ready for the vial. Book's like, I wonder what happens when we put this all together. And she's like, I don't know, but you can't wait to find out. And there appears to be one missing piece left of the puzzle, perhaps. Maybe two, I can't. And that's it. End of episode. In loving memory of our friend, Alan Red Masita. I'm not sure who that is, but hope he, yes, he's dead. I hope he enjoyed his time on this planet. God knows. I hope he enjoyed this show, because I sure did not. Oh my God. How do they get away with saying there's no ships left? And then all of a sudden they leave in a ship. They just said there was no ships. Boom, ship, bye. Every other time they leave, it's like, we got to chase them. This time, they're in a 1,000-year-old, a Terran warp pod, which I guess is like a 1,000-year-old piece of trash vessel. How fast could it really go? 1 or 2? It should be so easy to follow. They should have found it within minutes, and they just let it go. This episode, more than any other, is awful. The writing, total crap. I don't even know. I don't know what to say. It's just one piece of shit after another. Anyway, guys, that's it. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry it's late. Not sorry. It hurts. It hurts. Qapla all bird out.